All right, what's up? It's your boy, Mr. Koble, here with another lecture about history. Okay. I'm sorry, I missed this. Um, so as we go over westward expansion and we go over how the United States went from, 15, 16 states to a full 30 or 40 before the Civil War, we need to go over the steps to get there. Because the big question we have basically for the rest of the semester is until the Civil War is are how is westward expansion and the addition of new land in the West going to affect the United States specifically with slavery? So that's our main question at the bottom. If you want to write that down in your notes, that's fine. So pause that, go ahead and do that. That's the big thing we need to answer. Okay, so going off, we need to figure out what compromise means. Everyone in life has always compromised in one way or another. And when I think of compromise in the eyes of a 13-year-old, I think with a sibling, older, younger sibling. All right, I'll do the dishes if you vacuum, or well, no. Okay, let's say you want to go to the movies on a Friday night, and you're asking your mom if that's okay. You say, "Mom, can I go to the movies Friday night?" And she says, "No, your auntie's coming over, and she hasn't been here in like 3 months. You need to be here. We need to be together." Like, "Mom, I really want to go to the movies." She goes, "No, you need to be here." And you say, "Okay, what if we compromise? What if I go to the movies, but we go right after school, and I'm back by 7 o'clock?" And she says, "Okay, that's fine." That is a compromise. Both of you are giving something up. Um, and the best compromise is when no one's happy. It's the best way to put it. The best compromise is when no one's happy. Both of you have given up something. Sometimes it's a win-win. Sometimes it's a lose-lose. It depends on the situation. Sometimes people walk out saying, "Yes, we made a compromise. We're very happy about that. That's excellent." Sometimes people leave disgruntled and upset, and both sides are upset. That's also a compromise. So compromise is both sides giving up something to reach a common goal. So in 1919, uh, 1819, you have this situation. We have 11 free states in the north. We have 11 slave states in the south. So in the Senate, where each state gets 2 votes, we have, sorry, my phone went off and I lost my track. In the Senate, where each state gets 2 votes in the Senate, everything's equal. In the House of Representatives, because of the 3/5 compromise back when the Constitution was created, slaves count as 3/5 of a person. The South actually have a slight edge in the House of Representatives, but because of industrialization in the North, like that number is going to get to about equal, and then eventually the North's going to have actually a lot more people because of industrialization, because of immigration. Most of them go to the northern cities for all the reasons we discussed in our northern unit about industrialization and industrial revolution. The North's going to end up having more people, but in 1819, the South has a little bit of an edge. But things are going to change as we move westward. We need things. Power is going to get a little more unbalanced, and we're going to need to have a balance of power in the United States between the North and the South. So everything's equal, and then Missouri says, "Hi, can I play? I want to play too." And the United States goes, "Yeah, sorry, man. We kind of already have teams. Make it uneven unless you can find someone." And then Maine says, "Hey, I can play. What if we're on opposite teams? I'll play with the free states. Missouri can play with the slave states. Everything's equal." And they say, "Well, all right." So you have Maine enters as a free state. Let me move my screen. Maine enters as a free state over here. It used to be part of Massachusetts. It becomes its own state. And then Missouri, right here, enters as a slave state. And then they add a stipulation. They say, okay, this is going to happen a lot in the next 20, 30 years. We're going to have a lot of new states, and we need to figure out how to add states because this is going to happen. We need to figure out how to add states fairly. So they decided to draw a line under Missouri on the latitude and on the latitude line, which is side to side. And they say, okay, we're going to draw this line, this imaginary line across the country. And I'm going to draw this on the screen. Let's go orange. And they say, all right, we're going to draw this imaginary line across the country. So for the rest of time, forever and ever and ever, anything north of this line, is going to be a free state. And they said forever and ever and all time, anything south of this line is going to be a slave state. And then everything will be fair, and we're all going to be perfect, and there's going to be no problems. Cool, right? Everything's perfect. And then there's problems. Because we are going to have a lot more, let me get rid of these annotations. Because we're going to have a lot more land come in a second. We're going to have a war with Mexico, and we're going to get a lot of land from Mexico all at once. We're also going to get Oregon and the Washington area near Canada from Great Britain as well. So we need to figure out how to add these states fairly. So what they decide to do is they say, okay, we can keep doing this Missouri Compromise plan, but that's going to be a problem with our most popular and rich state at the moment, which is California. All right, we'll come back to this. No, I don't want that question. So what happens when you get to California? You can't divide California in half. Well, I mean, they could have. People still want to divide California in half. But you have so many people come through with the gold rush, and it would completely split California. The United States wants California to be admitted to the Union. California wants to come in as a free state. The people that are living in California, they came for the gold rush. They came to fight the Mexican-American War, and they won. They say, we want to be a free state. We want to enter the Union. We want to enter as a free state. And the entire United States collectively poops their pants because this is a problem. Because there is no other slave state at this moment. There's not enough people in like Arizona yet, or like New Mexico yet, to be a slave state. There's no way they're going to let Native Americans have their own little state because they're racist at the time. They don't like Native Americans especially. So we got a problem because we can't have this imbalance of slave states and of free states and slave states. So something's got to give. You either split California, or you do something else. So they decide. So the people in the north, the free states, say, all right, South, what do you want? And they come up with this plan together. This is the Compromise of 1850. They say, all right, California, you're in as a free state. Woo, holla at your state. But here's what the South gets. The South gets the Fugitive Slave Act, and they get a really strict version of it to get passed through Congress. And I'm going to go over what this is in a second because this is the critical linchpin in the kind of deal, and it's a big deal for free blacks in the North, especially. The slave trade is prohibited in DC. So, all the free states say it's kind of ridiculous to have slave trade still going on in Washington, DC. Like, we can't have auctions in the Capitol. And the South says, all right, but anyone already owning slaves is good to keep owning them. And they're like, all right, deal. And then the last little bit is you have two new territories. You have Utah and you have New Mexico. This is the territories that win the Mexican-American War. Used to be Mexico. Not enough people are in there to be states yet. But they say, okay, well, when they do become states and they do have enough people and they do want to join the Union, voters should get to decide whether to have slavery there. And we're thinking like, oh yeah, that sounds just. That sounds democratic. But when we get to Kansas and Missouri, or Kansas and Nebraska, you're gonna realize why it's a bad idea. But that's a bloody adventure for next time. Okay, Fugitive Slave Act. Let's go over this. So, let's say you are a Southern slave owner. Your slave runs away to the north, which happens, a good amount, as we went over in our resistance to slavery episode. So your slave runs away to the north, and you are now out tens of thousands of dollars in today's money. Remember, slaves cost the same amount as a car today. So when we're doing, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So when your slave runs away, you lose a lot of money, and the Southerners are very upset about this. So originally at the time, you could go up and get your slave back, but a lot of states and people weren't receptive to that. Northerners did not want Southerners coming up and taking freed slaves because Northerners were very against slavery. They would help the slaves escape. They would help. They wouldn't help Southerners look for their slaves. There was a lot of things they did, and the South was very upset about this. So they take the Fugitive Slave Act, and now it says, all right, Southerners, any slave from the North, you can go back up there and you can take them back down. And citizens in the North must help you recover their fugitive slaves, their runaway slaves. And if Northerners don't help you with that, then they can get arrested as well. So if I am a runaway, if I'm a former slave and I ran away, I'm thinking, oh God, now I'm not safe anywhere. And this hurts a lot of people, even people that were born in the North. Blacks that were born in the North were hurt by this as well, because what you would have happen is you would have you would have slave masters from the South go up and they have a description of their slave. It says, we're looking for Jim. He's 5'10", about 180 pounds, short hair. And then they look for Annie. They'd say yeah, that looks like Jim. And they go over and they take him, and now he's their slave. So you had a lot of freed blacks that have never been in slavery. They were never fugitives. They were never slaves. But you have free blacks that were taken into slavery just because they may have looked like a former slave. So you're basically kidnapping free blacks in the North during this time. When I explained this a couple of years ago to my other 8th grade class, I said, well, it works. I'm at a K through 8. This works now. Let's say the first graders are our slaves. So first graders are our slaves. And they run away. One of them runs away to, I don't know, one of the 3rd grade classrooms. And let's say, all right, I know my 1st grade slave, his name's, Javier, and he's about, 4 feet tall, short hair. All right, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a kid, looking for a Mexican boy, 4 feet tall, short hair. I walk into a 3rd grade classroom and I'm like, let's see. Yep, Mexican boy, 4 feet tall, short hair. Hey, Javier, you're a fugitive slave. I'm taking you back. And the kid's like, yo, my name's Jose. I'm not Javier. So you're lying to me. And I take him anyway. During this time, former slave masters and bounty hunters that they hired to capture those slaves would do that. They would take strangers and basically kidnap them and bring them back down to the South. And if you wanted to go on trial, say yo, I am not a fugitive slave. You were denied the right to a trial, which is against the Constitution. That's against your, I believe it's the 5th Amendment or 4th Amendment, or 7th Amendment, something like that, one of the amendments. It's against your right to a free trial. So that's a problem. So here are examples of the different types of slave ads they had. They would have a runaway from Saline County, 2 men about 25 years old. They had really weird adjectives like dish-faced. I don't know what dish-faced means, but it's weird. Speaks quick, about 5'7", black or brown, blue cotton pants and a white shirt. That's not a good description. I don't know who's dish-faced and has sore eyes. Most people had bad teeth. Like anyone could probably get taken as Jim and be a fugitive slave. So they had rewards. So you had bounty hunters during this time that would go north and capture former slaves and bring them back down. I'm going to show this clip. This is a great movie, by the way. Oh, I see what you mean. All right, so that's a movie that came out. I have a bunch of the books in class of someone that was wrongfully kidnapped. So going back to the big question, how did compromises during westward expansion affect slavery in the United States in the 1800s? That is your job to answer. So originally I was going to have you write this out. Instead, oh, my bad. Originally, I was going to have you write this out, but instead, I'm going to do something a little different. Instead, what's going to happen is I'm going to put up a link to a Flipgrid, and we haven't used Flipgrid yet, but basically you get to speak out your response instead of writing it out. And then you'll upload it through Flipgrid. It'll be a lot easier. So you have to answer this question of how did compromises during westward expansion affect slavery in the United States in the 1800s? So go over your notes, whatever you had, and go and answer this question. And upload it to Flipgrid. Bye.